Welcome, all, to the Pinfall Podcast. I am your host, Liz. I am joined, as always, by my beautiful, brilliant, and buoyant
Buoyant.
co
Buoyant, okay.
Technically, I called you skinny because that means that you're not sinking.
Well, I mean, boats are buoyant.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. Whatever. We might also have a special co-host joining us soon, but I don't know if she's going to get up on the bed. Nope, looks like she's turning around to talk to me. Anyways, tonight we're talking about Raw.
Great.
It sure was a Raw.
The rawest of raws.
Yeah. It wasn't bad. It was confusing.
I wouldn't even say it's confusing. Boring.
Yeah. Boring is a good way to put it. There were like a couple parts where I was like, haha, this is fun. We're having fun times. But for most of it, I was just kind of like, is it 11 yet?
Mm-hmm.
Done.
I fell asleep for a half hour towards the beginning.
Yes, you did. I told you that the slapstick, slapjack. The slapjack match happened. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you missed that.
I woke up and thought I hadn't missed a single thing, but I'm glad if I'm gonna miss anything that it's Retribution, Dana Brooke. I see her.
Special co-host, Zupagato. What are you sniffing at? So help me God if I see your mouth open, Pepita. Just sniffing my headphones.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So do you want to start the podcast or?
Yeah, I guess.
With the news? Might be a good thing.
Yeah, with the nudes. Cat's nude.
Don't say that about our cat.
She's naked, dude. She's not wearing clothes.
She's got a fur coat on.
It's kind of like I got like a little furry parrot.
A little devil on your shoulder.
Little demon. Oh, didn't like that. Didn't like that one bit. I closed the door when I came in here, and she finished eating and just like went at it and like stared. Like I was like, "You're not going out. I'm sorry." Try that again.
You don't want to put it upside down?
No, I don't think the episode was that bad today.
You don't want to make it smen?
No. We keep that out of this podcast. Anywho, let's start with the obvious. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch had their child. It's a girl. Which the selfish half of me was like, thank fuck, because now maybe we can get them back in the ring soon.
Don't think it's that easy with Becky.
Okay, well, it's fair. Well, maybe we'll get her back 2022's Royal Rumble. Unless they pull a Miz and just continuously pump out babies.
Yeah.
They named the child Rue, which at first I thought like it was like R-U-E or R-O-O, and I was like, like kangaroo. No, it's like technically it's the masculine way to spell red in French. But also if you just look up roux on Google, you get recipes on how to make a roux, which is the base of any real cream sauce or mac and cheese. which I think is just fucking hilarious.
Seth was just very hungry when they named the child.
I feel like if they were naming it Rue because of red, maybe it was like Becky's hair, but like that's just a weird reason to name it child something.
Because of Raw, obviously.
Dude, what did we say? The moment Becky had to leave, Vince was like, you can take this time off, but only if I can have the firstborn. Well, here we are. Embarrassing, because Seth is on SmackDown now.
Rue Lopez.
Well, is it going to be Rue Lopez, or do you think that they're going to go with Becky's last name? I really wish that Rollins was
Rue Rollins.
his actual, like... I wish that's what they went with. That'd be fucking hilarious.
What's Becky's last name? What is it? Quinn?
Quinn. Rue Quinn. That feels a little weird. It's like both one syllable.
Yeah, Rue Lopez sounds better.
I really hope that the middle name is just like fucking long as shit.
Rue Ray Lopez. Rue Dominic Lopez. Rue Dominic will get his eye plucked out Lopez.
I just want Seth to come back and have somebody be like, hey Seth, congrats on having the baby, and we know where the next feud is. Seth's like, so help me God if you fucking congratulate me.
It's Vince that congratulates him.
This is Vince's retirement match. Alright, so speaking of Reds and such, I guess like there's more buzz that Eva Marie is coming back. She's been around multiple times since September. She hasn't wrestled since 2017, I don't think. I'm gonna be real honest with you here. I want nothing to do with that. I would rather pluck my own eyes out personally and hand them to Seth than have to watch Eva Marie come back.
Well,
I cannot stand her.
I can guarantee there's somebody who you would rather pluck your eyes out for more, and that's somebody else who's returning, Mr.
Right.
Jack. Oh, sorry. Do you want to?
I was only gonna say, no. The only reason I was gonna introduce that as like, I don't know what the fuck is going on there, because we have found two completely different news pieces on this.
Right.
You give yours, and I'll say what I found.
So actually I need to find mine again because I closed out of it. But what it said was Jackson Riker is returning and he was spotted on main event with Elias. And there's an actual picture of it, so it's not just rumor. It's them standing next to each other with the Thunderdome LEDs in the background, so no bullshit or anything. But this probably goes hand in hand with Elias changing gimmicks, which has been rumored for a while. I just wish the man would simply go away.
Oh god, I see the picture now. That's so bad.
Yeah.
That's genuinely horrible. What is Elias's new gimmick? He's still holding a fucking guitar.
Yeah.
What's the new gimmick? Being a racist too?
I mean, what he said, which people are taking as a new gimmick, is he said that he may no longer be able to play guitar ever again. But since he's holding guitar, I feel like that's not true.
I really want to find the article I read so I can read that to you as well. Because okay, yeah. This was published one day ago by Wrestle Talk. Louis Dangoor, who does most of their articles, I think. It says, while speaking about the returns of Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio last night that he expects Jackson Riker to be one of the people next released by WWE. Meltzer explained that WWE just hasn't gotten around to releasing Riker yet, but noted that he'll likely be fired when the next batch of releases takes place, whenever that may be. Apparently, like, there's still a lot of people that fucking hate him backstage.
Oh, I'm sure. That's probably why he's just on main event.
So it's like, how are you going to have, like, safe matches if that's the case? So, I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily say that, like, he wouldn't be used in the meantime, but, like, it's just such a goofy way to fucking it's just goofy, I guess. Like, I don't get it, and I wish that, like, he would get the Zelina Vega treatment because he actually deserves it.
Right.
But we all know it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see. He might still be getting released. He might just have shown up on. I don't know. It's impossible for me to make assumptions right now. I'm just taking it for what it is, and that's he's back with Elias.
Yeah, Sean Ross Sapp apparently said that he is being put on main event for the meantime because he's too risky to put on television at this point.
Should just not be allowed backstage at all.
To be totally frank, I feel like if we analyze the tattoos on Jackson Riker's arm, we're definitely going to find something racist.
Probably.
Like, I can almost guarantee that.
But that's also not our job. So let's move on to another piece of news.
Yeah, anyways. All right, so that knocks out basically everything I have, except for... So recently I reported on the fact that we've got Desmond Xavier and Zach Wentz coming over from the Rascals. Their third partner, though, Trey Miguel, was notedly not part of that signing. And people were kind of confused by that because, like, it was like when they split up the New Day. And apparently Trey Miguel just said, like, I have a new nephew that was just born. I don't want to run the risk of getting anybody sick or getting myself sick. That's more important to me. So I'm just taking time off. But he is looking at offers from WWE and AEW. I would imagine, though, that he'll probably come to WWE if his other two partners are over there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Unless WWE doesn't want him.
Fair. But he's considering offers from both of these people, so I assume that implies they want him.
Yeah. I do have another piece of news if you want me to get to that. It's very, very small.
Yeah, sure.
Just I think it's just speculation.
I might know
but
what it is.
WWE is planning on really making Charlotte Flair and Andrade's relationship more focused on screen. They're more of a couple.
I saw that. I didn't read it.
Don't know what this means exactly, but
I don't really like that idea. Only because, like, I like Charlotte Flair being like head bitch in charge, independent woman.
I think
I need to see Andrade hanging off her fucking arm.
I think they're more so doing it because Andrade has like nothing.
That's fair. I also have a little piece of news if you'd like.
Okay.
Shaq is set to appear on AEW Dynamite.
Hell yeah.
I thought that was a nice little thing to tell you about.
Speaking of AEW, and this is my last piece of news actually. One thing that really swayed Sting to going over to AEW was he wanted to have, and fans wanted to have, a dream match between Sting and The Undertaker, but Vince did not want them to do it.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, outside of it's Vince, and Vince likes burning his own shit down to the fucking ground.
Yeah. It's
funny because when I was looking for that article about Jackson Riker, I found an article from May 23rd about Sting that was like,
Hmm.
big signs saying that Sting will not go to AEW after being released from WWE. And I was like, that didn't age well.
Yeah. All right, so matches and promos.
Let's get this bread.
Oh, we're having bread?
Yeah, we can go get some bread. A lot of it.
What?
We got a lot of it.
We do. All right, so I guess we should start at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to go from the end to the top.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so we had Randy Orton walking out monologuing about Bray. He says he's gonna come knocking on Firefly Funhouse's door. Didn't happen. There have been headlines saying he was inviting himself onto the into the Funhouse today, but he didn't.
Yeah, like, that's a pretty big thing to just toss around willy-nilly. Like, up until the point where, like, Tom's talking about it in the fucking opening, like, monologue that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't that happen?
I don't know. But Bray then comes on the jumbotron, and him and Randy start talking, and Bray starts a little fun game called Let's Get Randy, which it seems like is a Family Feud knockoff, something like that. Trivia show, whatever.
Yeah.
What was the question he asked? I didn't hear this so well.
I have no clue. The audio for this was horseshit, which I felt bad because it looked like it'd be really funny because we had Mercy, we had
Ramblin' Rabbit,
and the pig, whose name I never remember. It looked like it was going to be really funny, and then I couldn't understand anything that was coming out of any of their mouths. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I was tired.
No, I couldn't understand it either.
Yeah, it was something along the lines though of like basically asking what's gonna happen to Randy, basically, like if he confronts the Fiend or something like that.
I thought it had to do with like the tool. What tool was used?
No. That was the grand prize for anybody who guessed correctly.
Oh, right.
Yes. Which also don't know the name of that because audio was horseshit. Yeah. Again, really sad because usually the Firefly Funhouse segments have been fucking hilarious. Mm-hmm. So to not be able to hear it, I was like, am I just not allowed to have fun?
But then we have that, and then Randy, out of anger, challenges Bray to a match later tonight, which will be our main event. And then that segment ends, and before we get into Asuka versus Shayna Bazsler, we have in Gorilla, Nia hyping up Shayna before the match. Shayna says something like, her back is going to look like her front, and her front is going to look like her back. And Nia's just like, so she's going to have boobs on her back?
And Shayna's just like, yeah. I was like, oh.
Supportive.
You know, they needed to be supportive of each other.
Yeah.
After the last few weeks. So yeah.
You want to get into
Asuka versus Shayna. And somebody made a comment that like if NXT was doing a match like this, the lead-in and like the hype for this match would be incredible. It would make half the match, basically. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. This is like, it felt like an afterthought. Or they were just like, we have 4 women that we can use right now. How are we going to use them? However, Asuka goes for the ankle lock on Shayna, but Shayna breaks free, sends an elbow back to Asuka. Asuka is then brought down into an ankle lock. She turns it around into an octopus hold. And there's a backbreaker to Asuka. We go down to ringside. Lana tries to interfere, but Nia stops her. Asuka then is slammed into the announce desk. There's a leg drop onto Asuka's arm once we're back in the ring. Shayna gets a submission hold on the upper arm wrist area, and then Asuka rolls her up. Shayna begins kicking Asuka. There's a release German suplex to Shayna and a facebuster to Shayna. Asuka goes for the armbar, but Shayna gets the Kirifuda clutch in on Asuka. Asuka then tries to reverse it and attempts the Asuka lock. Lana's ringside, screaming and yelling, and she's attacked by Nia. And then Lana shoves Nia into the stairs. And then Nia attempts to Samoan drop Lana through the announce desk, but Lana pushes her face first into it. And then Shayna's just annoyed at Lana, I guess. And then she gets rolled up as she's yelling at Lana by Asuka for Asuka to win the match.
You see, if this was like 4 months ago, this match would have been amazing.
Yep. It almost feels like they like said, okay, well, we've done enough Asuka Nia shit. Like, that was good. And now we just have Asuka Shayna, and we're gonna fucking throw it to the goddamn wind.
It seems like the only women on the Raw roster are Asuka, Nia, Shayna, and Lana. Is there anyone else?
In theory, there is. We saw Nikki Cross today. She was backstage.
Yeah, and I guess Alexa too, but she's not in the women's scene.
Reckoning. And Dana.
Where's Mandy?
I think Mandy's actually injured.
Okay.
Peyton. Lacey. I've listed a lot of people already.
But where are they?
Right.
Anyway.
I don't know, man. They're in the Firefly Funhouse.
Oh, fun.
They're just vibing.
Fun. Are they all in Retribution, actually?
They're all T-Bar. They're just stacked on top of one another.
They're like a Megazord.
One controls his head. The other controls the arms.
Alright, so after that we had a promo with the Hurt Business where they're just harassing people backstage. And at this point I fell asleep for about a half hour, but Liz told me that there was a promo with Dana, Brooke, and Ricochet, and they're approached by Riddle with another invention. Then we have an interview with Ricochet and Dana. I assume it wasn't important.
Do you want me to tell you what happened?
No.
Want me to like fact check you here?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Go for it then. Okay.
Oh, am I gonna try and like recap what happened with it? I was just gonna skip it entirely.
Oh wait. Oh, I forgot that the match happened. To be totally fair, you fell asleep, but while you were falling asleep, I was also falling asleep. Like my eyes, like like when you're trying to focus on something, and like all of a sudden you have to go like, because you feel yourself just drifting. I've been so tired all day, and it hit at the same time for us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that I saw your eyes were closed, my eyes were closing at the same time, and I'm like, fuck no, someone has to be awake. We're never gonna get this done. Anyways, also your face when I told you that you missed this match, priceless. We had Reckoning and Slapjack versus Ricochet and Dana. We start with the women. Dana and Reckoning are just kind of in a slugfest. There's a boot to the face of Dana. Ricochet gets in. Ricochet does a clean fucking Hurricane Rana to Slapjack. He goes over the top rope and dives out onto Slapjack and very nearly kills both of them. I think he got a little more momentum than he was planning to have. Because he came within, like, I think 6 inches of, like, just digging his fucking cranium into the announce desk. Then there's a modified Falcon Arrow to Ricochet, a cannonball in the corner to Ricochet, but Ricochet rolls away, so Slapjack just kind of cannonballs himself into the fucking buckles. Then we get Reckoning versus Dana again. Mustafa is yelling at Reckoning, being real fucking mean. And that just leads us to a sit-out power slam to Reckoning from Dana to win. And then Mustafa yells at Reckoning more, basically calls her a failure. And now T-Bar's not happy. T-Bar tweeted, "Something has to change." So I don't know where that's going.
No more women.
Reckoning. I just love the idea of Retribution being like, we hate the WWE and women. We're really narrowing down who we like.
Doesn't WWE stand for Women's Wrestling Entertainment?
Can I also just say, the stupidest shit in the world that they did was put both Dijakovic and Dio Madden on Retribution. If they had just brought one of them back as, like, a regular fucking person, then they could have had matches. But we can't have that because you're both on fucking Retribution. They're so evenly paired. Like...
So after that, we had a promo with Sheamus. Again, was asleep for this. Don't know what happened. I know he mumbled some words. I'm going to assume it's not important. And just skip over it.
Yeah, basically Shamo says, more or less...
Shamu?
This is what it sounded... Shamu. This is what it sounded like to my fucking ears was... Because Keith is accusing him of, like, gonna turn on Drew. And Sheamus says, I have a champion to turn on, or something like that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go kick his ass. That's basically what I fucking heard, and I was like, it's really weird that you would announce your motives this early on in the fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody reacted to that. Like, Tom was like, well, that was something, blah, 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 blah. Anyways. I was like, what the fuck? What? So, I don't know. I think I need subtitles for Sheamus now. The grumpy Sheamus, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Loud Sheamus, I can understand.
Right.
Anyways.
You only understand him when he screams, "Fella!"
Even that I had to look up when we first started watching again. I was like, what the fuck is he saying?
You had to get used to it. So, yeah, after that we had Miz TV with AJ Styles. Yeah. That. They just start shit-talking Drew and Sheamus, with their match coming up. They make fun of their accents, thus leading Sheamus to come out, who starts shit-talking some more. Then Drew comes out, and then the shit-talking really starts, and Drew calls Jordan a beanstalk. And then...
AJ Jackass.
Yeah. And then AJ backs out of the ring and says, "You guys thought this was a 3-on-2? No, it's a 4-on-2. And I still don't know what that means because Jordan almost still didn't wrestle. I don't know what the...
Almost has really only kept AJ from getting his shit kicked in.
Illegally.
And that's about it. Yeah.
I don't know what he meant by that, and the announcers kept making a point of it, like, every time it came up. But then
oh, go on.
No. I was gonna move on. What were we gonna say?
Oh, okay. So I was just gonna say that, like, AJ says that. And then Drew and Sheamus attack Miz and John Morrison while AJ and almost stand outside of the fucking ring. So it's really just a 2-on-2.
Unless he meant the four of them, meaning Drew, Sheamus, Miz, and John against Omos and AJ.
That might be almost a fair fight. Might be.
But yeah, a brawl starts, and then that's really where it ends. But except it doesn't, because Miz and John have been knocked out of the ring, and Sheamus and Drew start clearing the ring. Except Sheamus doesn't. It's just Drew.
Sheamus throws a chair to Drew to throw out of the ring, and I was like,
but then
fucking asshole.
Drew sees the Money in the Bank briefcase, picks it up, and hurls it across the ramp, smacking into one of the light boards at the stage, breaking it. But it's not permanently broken because we see that panel lit up again after that segment. So,
it's the best part of that is I know for a fact that after Drew did that, he probably was just sitting there like, did a pretty goddamn good job there. Huh?
Yeah.
Also, maybe please note, Drew McIntyre's wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I nearly had a goddamn panic attack. He looked so hot. Thank you. That's all I have to say about that.
So moving on. Then we had Kofi Kingston versus Shelton Benjamin. Liz?
Oh my god, what a fucking match this was, huh?
I think the next one was even better.
Partner. Yeah, I need to know what the fuck Cedric is taking. I'm sure it's not legal.
It's called his wife. Or his girlfriend. Whatever they are.
I think it's his wife. Big Swole had no right to post on Twitter what she posted on Twitter. I will not elaborate. I will let everyone else find out what it is for themselves. 100%. I really hope that he's the type of husband that's like, oh, my wife's so hot and into me. Because if he isn't, that's probably highly embarrassing. And also, this is not wrestling related. I need to make a point. I don't know what the fuck is happening with my eyebrow right now. Where she's up here, this is like, I can't tell, but like, it's jagged. I don't tweeze the tops of my eyebrows, so I don't know how this happened, but I can't stop fucking looking at it.
Trendy.
Anyways, sorry. Maybe I should just like cut my losses and like shave like a little slit in the side, so then I can be like hip.
Big Rhea.
Like the kids do. Ooh. Well, if I'll be like Rhea, maybe I definitely will do it. I don't know how they do that. Like, what would you use? Anyways. Anywho. So we have Kofi versus Shelton. Kofi begins kicking the absolute piss out of Shelton. There's a face buster and a boot to the face of Kofi, though. Kofi's in the corner. There's an elbow from Shelton. He whips Kofi into the other corner. And then Kofi jumps up, sending double knees into Shelton's chest. I don't think the move landed the way it was supposed to, but whatever. We'll move on from it. There's some forearms and a dropkick to Shelton, and then a boot to the midsection of Kofi. And this is about where it all kind of falls apart. There's a gut-wrench powerbomb to Kofi, where I'm pretty sure if Kofi didn't have his head tucked, probably would have broken his fucking neck. It's just such a fucking scary move. Because it's literally just you winging somebody into the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes right into an ankle lock on Kofi. He manages to grab the ropes, but then there is a jawbreaker to Kofi off of the ropes, and Kofi is dumped outside. Kofi then dodges Shelton, sending him into the barricade. Somehow manages to get back in. Trouble in Paradise to Shelton. Kofi gets the win. He and Xavier are marching on out. They're like, woo, we won. And we actually like won this time. And it wasn't just like a count out. And Cedric says, no. This sold really well last week. Let's do it again. Get back in this fucking ring. I want to fight you.
I think
and Xavier's like, oh, go on.
I think it just shows how desperate the Hurt Business are.
I think it shows how desperate Cedric is.
No, because MVP seems just as desperate.
True. I guess it's more so that like Cedric just seems to be on some
crack.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Kofi or Xavier's like, hey, no, we're not doing that. That's a stupid idea. And Kofi says, no, I'll go. I'll do it. Xavier says you're a better man than me, and I fucking lost my shit. But Kofi, not the brightest bulb in the box, gets in, begins getting pummeled. Cedric begins attacking Kofi's knee, which after the jawbreaker from Shelton, he landed wrong tweaking the knee, which he tweaked last week as well. So, running injury here. Cedric begins attacking the knee and kind of basically tries to tear like every ligament of the knee out of place. Care for that. Pardon me, I've got a hiccup. So Kofi then slams Cedric down to the mat with just one boot. There's a roll-up that leads us into an SOS to Cedric. Cedric lifts Kofi, and Kofi brings him down into a cover. And then there's a kick to the knee and a spinning brainbuster. It's not enough to keep Kofi down, but it's very nearly enough. Because both men get up onto the ropes. Kofi slams Cedric face first down to the ground. He goes to jump down onto Cedric with the missile dropkick, but Cedric rolls away real quick. And then there's a backstabber to Kofi, and Cedric wins. And Cedric lets you know that he won by screaming very loudly. And then Big Swole went and tweeted, and I said, my night is ruined. Thank you.
Oh, that ruined your night? I found that hilarious.
I guess in my head, Cedric's like this like little dude. So when his wife calls him daddy, I'm like...
No, she called him Zaddy.
Oh, sorry, you're right. That's for short daddies.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Then after that, we had... I think this will be our final Pat Patterson tribute on WWE. We had one on NXT, SmackDown, and now Raw. And then we move into handicap match, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus The Miz, John Morrison, and AJ Styles.
Yes. And what a match this was.
It was okay.
I liked it. This wasn't my favorite match of the night, but I didn't hate it entirely. In the moment I did, though. In the moment I fucking hated the match. Which we'll get to. This is probably the one I took the most notes for, at least. So we get Morrison in first against Sheamus. Morrison is immediately clubbed down and launched into the corner. Drew wants... No. Sorry. He's against Drew first. I'm an idiot. After launching him into the corner, Drew follows up and says, I want AJ. But AJ won't tag in. So Morrison gets back up. We get a Glasgow kiss to Morrison. And he gets Sheamus in because he's got no interest in dealing with this man. There's a kick to the face of Sheamus, and Sheamus then does his little double axe handles, flattening Morrison. Sheamus then sends AJ off the apron with a knee, sets up for the 10 beats of the barn, and Miz interferes. Okay. So the Miz interferes on the apron. Sheamus tries to follow him, and when he does, he ends up basically hitting Drew under the impression that he was about to hit the Miz. Drew is not very happy about that. He yells at Sheamus and tells him to get his head in the game. Fair enough. Sheamus is a little out of it for most of this match because people yell at Sheamus and then he gets a little stressed out, I think. His head gets like torn in two. But then they work as a team to launch John Morrison into the chairs behind the announce desk. Sheamus begins punching the Miz in the corner. He goes off the top rope down onto Miz while Drew is just being a fucking goofball on the apron. Drew gets in. Drew slaps the Miz. He gets Sheamus back in. They do a team back body drop to the Miz. Sheamus starts getting distracted by John Morrison and AJ yelling on the sidelines at him. Drew gets in. They toss the Miz once more. Drew then stomps on the Miz's paw, only to have the Miz pull him down into a jawbreaker. AJ gets in and starts punching Drew in the corner. John gets in, starts punching Drew in the corner. Miz gets back in. Drew then gets up and punches all of the men. He tags Sheamus in. to hold the Miz while he just kind of uses the Miz as his own personal punching bag. We get more. We get a relatively successful 10 beats at the bottom after this, except it's like 7 or 8. It's not 10. I will continue to count.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
Yeah, it's when the number of beats is in the fucking move's name, expect all 10.
Yeah.
If Drew doesn't count 1, 2, and then Claymore somebody, counts to 3. Anyways, Sheamus then attacks The Miz, takes Morrison out. The Miz rakes Sheamus's eyes as the referee is not looking because Spider's hugely fucking distracted tonight. There's a chop block on Sheamus. John Morrison gets in. He kicks Sheamus in the face while Spider is... John Morrison did not get in. That's a lie. John Morrison's on the apron, though. Spider is distracted because Drew's pissed off that Sheamus had his eyes raked and Spider did nothing. So while Spider is distracted by Drew, John Morrison kicks Sheamus in the face through the fucking ropes. And Drew almost has a goddamn aneurysm. Morrison gets in. There's a team gutbuster. That's what it's called. To Sheamus. Morrison just kind of like kicks Sheamus around a lot. Sheamus then catches Morrison's leg and shoves him backwards. This gets AJ in. He begins assaulting Sheamus in the corner, gets a calf crusher on Sheamus, which is then broken up by Drew. Not a fan of the broken rules today, not a fan of the cheating today. He plays by the rules and no one else is. Spider yells at Drew and says, "Stay the fuck over in your goddamn corner, so help me God." Anywho, there's a white noise to AJ. Drew gets in, clotheslining Morrison. We get our snap belly to bellies. It's amazing. It looks great. He does a 2-for-1 with suplexing both Morrison and The Miz. We get a kip up, a failed Future Shock DDT, which is really just part of his repertoire now. More so than the Future Shock DDT, I think. Mm-hmm. But then he manages a massive fucking back body drop to The Miz. It's amazing how far he can make a man fly. And he's setting up for the Claymore, but AJ kicks Drew upside the head. "Halting," said Claymore. Sheamus then gets in. Sheamus does an Irish curse to AJ. He sends Miz from the ring. There's a failed Starship Pain from Morrison to Sheamus. Sheamus lines up a brogue kick for Morrison, but my dear God, he hits Mr. Drew McIntyre instead. And the Phenomenal Forearms takes Sheamus down. 3-man team wins. We just get like the most heartbreaking like shots one after the other of Drew staring at Sheamus like, "How could you do this?" And Sheamus being like, "I fucked up so bad."
But also, why
it hurt me.
Why was Drew in the ring? Like, he wasn't legal.
I guess because like nobody that was in that ring besides Sheamus and I think AJ
John.
were the legal men.
John was legal.
Maybe John. Okay, so I think it was just because like John Morrison or Jesus fuck. I only know one person on the team apparently. AJ and The Miz both got in, so I think Drew was like, "Well, fuck this, I'm getting in too." Like communication?
It was his own damn fault.
It was. And I was so pissed off. And I think it was like a 5-minute span of time where I was fucking mad, really fucking mad, and then quite pleased.
Yeah. So after that, we had Asuka and Lana backstage. After it was announced that Lana would be fighting Nia next week. And Lana's panicking, and Asuka's trying to hype her up as best as she can. But then Asuka walks away, and Nia shows up and just stares down Lana. And that ends. And then we have a backstage interview with Sheamus, where he just says the kick was unintentional. But then Drew shows up. We cut to commercial, and then we come back, and Sheamus and Drew are brawling. in catering. But then Pat Buck shows up trying to tear them apart, and they're like, you know what? Let's beat up Pat Buck. And so they beat up Pat Buck instead, and then walk away pals.
It was my favorite fucking thing in the world, just because, first of all, Sheamus seems so fucking sad. He's like, no, it wasn't intentional. I did not want to hurt him. And the fact that he's like, I know what's going to happen now. He's going to come back here, and he's going to kick my fucking ass, and I'm ready. And I said, or maybe you guys could just be like, hey, that wasn't intentional. We both should have been thinking twice. Let's still be friends. But no, they're men. I forgot about that part. And I was immediately thrown back to the time in college when this guy's girlfriend cheated on him. So his other friend was like, hey, do you want to punch me? We'll just fight each other in the fucking common area. You can just punch me. Make you feel better. And I watched two men brawl until somebody stopped them and had to pull them apart. Just for the sake of fun. So I should have known that was coming.
Okay.
However, I did really like how this ended. Because it was like, we bonded over the fact that we hate other people too. Also, everyone seemed very excited about the Drew and Sheamus brawl backstage. Like, everyone was like crowding around like, yeah!
Drew Gulak even tweeted about it and added World Star.
Well, the moment I noticed that Sheamus was being interviewed outside of the catering table, I was like, oh, a fight's gonna break out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't have a catering table. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
However, we did see, also important to note, we saw Eric.
We did see Eric.
Yeah. Eric was backstage with Nikki and Tozawa.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of funny and kind of breaking kayfabe because Eric is technically going for the 24/7 title. So you kind of think that maybe they wouldn't be vibing together?
No, R-Truth is the one with the title.
Right, but I'm just saying that, like, you would think that maybe, like, your competitors? I don't know.
I don't know.
I liked seeing Eric doing absolutely nothing. I was like, oh, buddy. Hi.
After that, we had, before our match with Bobby versus Jeff, Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy, we had Jeff Hardy and Gorilla approached by Riddle, who offers him some bro nuts, which are just donuts that he called bro nuts. And Riddle suggests a tag team with Jeff, calling them the Hardy Bros. Where Riddle said that his signature move could be the broetry in motion. You gotta appreciate the puns. The wordplay.
But that means that I have to appreciate Matt Riddle, and
You
I really am
don't.
trying hard now, too.
You don't.
These promos have been really fucking funny, and it kind of, like, grates on my every last nerve.
They have been really
I hate
funny.
it.
But then we move into Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy.
Ay. What the fuck was this match? Why was this match?
I don't know.
Anyways.
I didn't mind it.
I smell a little tiny hint at a TLC pre-show match.
Mm-hmm.
So Bobby immediately slams Jeff into the mat sideways before shoving him into the buckle. Bobby starts kind of stalking Jeff, stomping on him in the corner. He goes to splash Jeff in the corner. Works the first time. Second time, Jeff gets his legs up. Bobby then drops Jeff from his shoulders, but Hardy lands on his feet. There's an attempted twist of fate, which almost goes into a hurt lock. Jeff goes up the top rope after getting free, but MVP distracts him, and Bobby gets Jeff on his shoulders. And then Riddle comes in and attacks MVP, and Jeff is free from Bobby's shoulders. And then Bobby slams Jeff into the post, starts bleeding from somewhere, by the way. At this point, I believe Bobby Lashley is bloody.
Just from his mouth.
Yeah, which ends up being all the way up the side of his face at the end of the match,
Mm-hmm.
which Not quite sure how that works. Anyways. So where was I? So Lashley tosses Hardy from the ring. There's a snap suplex to Hardy, and then a hurt lock attempt, but it gets rolled down right into like a little sleeper hold. It was almost like Bobby couldn't decide what he wanted to do tonight. Because he goes for the full Lashley, and then he's like, no, fuck it, never mind, sleeper. There's a jawbreaker on Bobby. Then some forearms take Lashley down. Let me catch my breath for this. There's the inverted atomic drop, the double leg drop, the drop kick, and then the fucking splash. Every fucking time. I hate that. I hate it so much. And I know that, I guess, like, I can only hate it so much because Drew does the same thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I like when Drew does it more. Because, like, when I'm watching Drew do it, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, how are you doing all this? With Jeff, it's just like, we're working in, like, this, like, very tiny little bubble of, like, movement, basically. You know?
Right.
Whereas, like, when Drew comes in and starts, like, throwing people over his fucking head, I'm like, ooh. Ooh. Anyways, I'm also biased, so, because I fucking hate Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so, right on. Then we get a kick to the chest of Lashley and a whisper in the wind to Lashley. Lashley brings Hardy down face first, goes for a suplex, but Jeff gets his little twist of fate in. Jeff goes off the top rope in the most pathetic attempt at a swanton bomb. It was like a child jumping from, like, a porch stoop. It's like he, the swanton bomb is supposed to swan dive and then senton, and he went.
It's one where he knew Bobby was gonna move. It's one of those, this is wrestling moves. This is pro wrestling.
Yeah. But yeah, so Jeff does that, lands on his feet. Lashley has rolled away at this point, and then spears the ever-loving Christ out of Jeff Hardy. Then we get the full Lashley to Jeff. He taps. I genuinely think. Okay, no, I included it. I thought I missed the part where Matt Riddle came in. Usually when I'm doing this, I don't listen to myself talking, so. I don't know what I'm fucking saying.
Then after that, we had Randy Orton in the locker room, and there's a knock at his door, but nobody is behind the door. But then Ramblin' Rabbit peeks his little head in and says, "Hey." I don't even remember what he fucking said. All I know is he just said something and then left.
Very important. Oh, you know what we also forgot to mention? One of the other prizes for the Bray Wyatt thing was the corpse of Friendship Frog.
Oh, yeah.
It's looking worse for wear right now.
I mean, he's dead.
That's fair. He's just a little moldy too, which I didn't know would happen so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a week.
True, and we don't know what the air conditioning situation is like in the Firefly Funhouse. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's not much.
But Bray was so mean to Ramblin' Rabbit that, like, part of me is hoping that, like, Ramblin' Rabbit's gonna be like, Andy, I'll help you. I'll be like, yes, Ramblin' Rabbit, get in there. I can train Ramblin' Rabbit.
But yeah, that's the end of that promo, and then we move on to the main event: Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt.
This was a good match.
It was okay. I thought it was just okay.
I just love the gentle. It was okay.
Yeah.
I liked it. Of all the matches tonight, this was probably my favorite. So.
Really?
That was the greatest one.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I can be swayed, but I'm not going to be swayed towards the New Day. So, starting there.
Okay.
Just in case that puts you in a bind. Anyways. Randall Keith Orton versus Bray Wyatt. We get a shoulder tackle to Randy, and then a boot to the midsection and uppercut to Bray. Bray has his head smashed into the announce desk. He then headbutts Randy, who's kind of setting up for the back body drop, turns it around, and then does exactly that to Randy. There's a boot to the chin of Bray, who still seems to just be having a good old fucking time. Seems to be pretty happy with what's happening. Then there's a knee drop onto Bray, which, mind you, at one point Randy takes Bray on he's got his back, and I think he was going to push him over, and just tapped him a little bit, he was drumming the solo.
He did that a couple times.
He was in a weird mood today. I don't know if he notices that he does have that shit too when he's wrestling, or if he's just that's all that's going through his head is just moves, and I'm doing weird shit now. But there's a knee drop onto Bray, and then he stomps on Bray's chest. There's a boot to the chest of Bray, sending him backwards. And then Bray Wyatt clotheslines Randy once and crumples his ass. So Bray Wyatt's suddenly in a fucking mood. Seems to be in a trance, as Tom put it. He splashes Orton in the corner, then crossbodies him. There's a DDT to Randall. It's the best DDT. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm going to be a little snobby on this one. It was not a very good DDT. If I'm not concerned that somebody took a stinger with a DDT, then it wasn't a good DDT. I kind of thought it was more of a face buster. My positioning.
That's fair.
But anyways. Randy nearly Sister Abigail's... Bray nearly Sister Abigail's Randy. But Randy turns it into a neck breaker, but not an RKO. So...
What's the point?
It a neck breaker? Yeah. There's a headbutt to Bray, and Randy drops Bray back first into the announce desk. He gets caught in the Sister Abigail, but he frees himself and just slaps Bray. Just tiny little tap. And pulls that right into a kind of sloppy Draper DDT. And then the lights start going out. And then Randy fucking RKO's the Fiend, and I said, holy shit. That's big.
No, you RKO'd Bray, not the Fiend.
Bray, that's what I meant. Sorry. But the lights are going out. Randy RKO's Bray. And then we come back, and after the lights come back on, it's the Fiend. He gets the mandible claw on Randy. And that's where we end, pretty much.
Pretty much ended in a no contest.
Well, I think that's pretty much if the ref had counted through the lights going out, Randy would have won.
Yeah, but it's all implied, but we don't see it happen. So does it happen? Tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it. Did it tap out?
Real quick before we...
Why are you showing me just a black lump on your bed?
This is ridiculous.
She's ridiculous.
She's like those woolly bear caterpillars that you see rolled up, and you're like, is it alive? Is it dead? And then you poke it and it comes up, straightens itself out, and you're like, oh god, it's alive. I think if I poked her right now, she'd probably just yell at me.
So bests of the night?
Yeah, I guess if you want to talk about the best of the night, we could do that.
Alright, so there's not much competition with promo of the night. I'm pretty dead set on my pick for that. However, I will still go through all of it. We started off with Randy Orton monologuing out in the ring and then interacting with Bray in the Firefly Funhouse, where we have the game of Let's Get Randy. Really funny promo. Even if there were some audio issues, I still thought this was great. I thought this was hilarious. Because anything involving Firefly Funhouse is a joy. We had Nia hyping up Shayna and Gorilla. This was better than normal for them. We had the Hurt Business promo, which was nothing special. I'm gonna skip over everything involving Dana and Ricochet, and the Sheamus promo. Miz TV was interesting, a little confusing, but for the most part, not very interesting. Besides Drew throwing the briefcase at the stage. We had the Pat Patterson tribute. We had Asuka and Lana backstage, which was okay. The Sheamus backstage interview, which led to a brawl, and then Drew and Sheamus making up. This was great. Kind of playing with my emotions and yours, but it's still very enjoyable. Doesn't really move us ahead in story at all. Kind of actually takes us a step back, but it's kind of fan service.
I think the purpose it played was basically to be like, Sheamus can have friends.
Right. Sorry. So we then had Jeff Hardy in Gorilla being approached by Riddle, offering him some bro nuts and suggesting the tag team. It was funny. Just like all the other Riddle promos lately, they're funny. And then last but not least, we had Randy Orton in the locker room being approached by Ramblin' Rabbit. Nothing special. Nothing substantial. So, with all that said, my pick for promo of the night is Randy monologuing, leading to "Let's Get Randy." It was the most fun, and
Agree.
you don't agree?
No. And for one reason alone. I couldn't fucking hear any of it. I didn't know what anyone was saying.
But if we're talking story, that pushed the storyline forward the most out of any promo that happened.
But doesn't it matter if I can like hear what the promo is like saying?
I mean, yeah, but also you still got the vibe without hearing it.
Fine. Only because I'm not interested in arguing over the promo of the night, because there's nothing super spectacular.
Yeah. Don't waste your energy.
Yeah. I got bigger fish to fry with the fighter and fight.
Alright, so, Wrestler of the Night. Also, Raw logo is gone once again.
Wow. It's at the same time every time. It must be when you transition for the promo.
It is. Every single time.
What's that?
Alright, so, where are my notes? There they are. Alright. So, Wrestler of the Night. We started off with Asuka versus Shayna Bazsler. I picked Shayna. I don't want to talk about this match. It wasn't very interesting. Shayna's just an interesting wrestler, so I pick her. I'm going to skip over Reckoning and Slapjack versus Dana and Ricochet, because I was asleep for that match.
I don't understand.
We had Kofi versus Shelton. I'm picking Shelton for this match. I think he looked really good. But mostly because Kofi was not really around for this match. He only had a leg up in the last 5 seconds, and that was really it. But Shelton looked better than normal today. And then Kofi versus Cedric. I'm going with Cedric for that match. Cedric was off his ass the whole time. Looked great. Even though it was a pretty short match, he still looked awesome. He looked fantastic. Then we had Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus The Miz, John Morrison, and AJ Styles. I'm picking Sheamus for this match. Mostly because Drew annoyed me when he stepped in the ring at the last second. Like, there was no motivation. There was no reason for him to do that. It was out of character. It was stupid. And Sheamus did really well today. He did great with his wrestling, and he also did a great performance as Sheamus. So I definitely think that he was the best out of this match. And then we had Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy. I gotta go with Bobby. Bobby looked actually fantastic today. He looked less savage, more so like a genuine brawler. He seemed very analytical in everything he was doing. Like he was just so in control, and not just because it was booked that way, because it definitely wasn't. That's just how he was wrestling, and just that he was doing it so goddamn well.
One thing that annoyed me, but like I kind of recognize as like being useful, was the fact that it seemed like he changed his mind on several moves as he was doing them, basically.
Right.
Like not going right into the full Lashley or whatever.
Well, he was trying to, and Jeff was pushing him away.
And then he moved it down into the sleeper hold, which I thought was really smart.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because he also didn't have a ton of that like weird like animalistic predator shit that he almost always does.
Like the Randy stalking thing.
Yeah, like he didn't do that, which I kind of appreciate. Like the spear was out of fucking nowhere. Like, there was no warning for that.
Yeah.
It was like a fucking jump scare in wrestling, basically.
And I mean,
so yeah, I liked him a lot.
Bobby's always a very talented wrestler, but I think today he really took it up a notch, especially when you're fighting somebody that's a veteran like Jeff Hardy. And then we had, last but not least, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. I'll go with Bray for this. Randy kind of seemed out of it today. Like he didn't hit all of his normal trademark moves felt a little off. He felt very gentle.
The Draper DDT was nothing.
Yeah.
You know, sloppy.
Yeah, he seemed very sloppy just in general. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just gotta go with Bray. Bray still looked good. He didn't look fantastic, but that's just his style. So yeah. So my pick for Wrestler of the Night. I don't know if you'll agree, but you probably will. Bobby Lashley.
I wasn't going to pick Bobby going into this.
We're gonna go with Cedric.
No, I wasn't actually. I don't know who I was gonna go with. I didn't love anybody specifically. I was a little more than impressed with John Morrison actually today, but that wasn't enough to sway me. Yeah, I really liked Bobby tonight. And you, again, as much as it pains me to say this, you've convinced me. So I think that he's a good choice. I think he's a good fit for it. He looked like an elevated version of Bobby.
Right.
And I don't think that we've gotten to see a ton of that since ever.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Considering his whole thing was like being like this half like superhuman person originally, and then he became MVP's lapdog.
No, he's the CEO of the Hurt Business. He's leading them.
But what is MVP?
He's a CFO.
MVP's the CFO.
Mm-hmm.
That always makes me fucking laugh because I'm like, who the fuck is the president of the fucking company? Like, what is Shelton? What is Cedric? What are they? What are their roles?
Interns.
Valid. Fair.
Alright, so match of the night. I've got opinions, and you're all gonna hear them.
Oh dear.
Alright, so we start off with Asuka versus Shayna Bazsler. A boring match. I'm never convinced by Asuka. What?
I was just gonna say, it's a boring match for a match that has no fucking right being boring.
Yeah. Shayna's...
Asuka and fucking Shayna. Oh my god.
Yeah. If you threw this match out at us when Asuka first became the Raw Women's Champion, this would have been like a pay-per-view main event match right here.
It wasted so much time on her and Sasha and Bailey and her and Nia that Shayna was so far cast off to the goddamn side that she was fucking appearing on Raw Underground. It's like, I could have had it all. I've had it all.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I get? You know why? Because they don't know how to book two incredibly talented women's wrestlers. Because they don't know how to book women's matches. But that's a different story for a different day. Probably Wednesday.
But moving on, I'm gonna skip over Reckoning and Slapjack versus Dana
I
Brooke.
really don't understand why. That's my match of the night.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll disagree. So we have Kofi versus Shelton. I liked how this match started. I thought this was like a great showcase for Shelton, a little bit for Kofi. But the fact that it ended so abruptly with Kofi just suddenly getting a leg up and pinning Shelton, it came out of nowhere, ended way too soon.
Especially when like this is like a running injury. It's like, oh, all of a sudden that knee's not bothering you. Like,
Right.
what?
But then we get into Kofi versus Cedric in a much more exciting match. Not great, not perfect. Was still a good showing from both of them, especially Cedric. But it was still missing so much. I didn't love it. I didn't. Then we had Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus The Miz, John Morrison, and AJ Styles. The way this match ended annoyed me. But through most of it, I enjoyed it. It was a very enjoyable match. Not amazing, you know. It's
It had a lot of the character elements that, I mean, like the wrestling is almost always good, especially because Drew and Sheamus are pretty good. John Morrison's a pretty good wrestler. I'm not a big fan of Miz's style, but I like AJ's. So I think because the wrestling's always really good from them, because we also get the character elements, that makes it an even more enjoyable match, because I almost always know that like I could be bored to tears with a fucking Drew McIntyre match, but the shit talking and the taunting and like just how he interacted with Sheamus, that kind of put me in a position where I was like, all right, you know what, this is fine. I don't care. I'm having a good time.
But the ending did really annoy me. Like it shouldn't have ended like that. Like that was really stupid.
It would have made more sense for them to just fucking lose.
Yeah. Like just lose normally because they're up against three guys. Have it be like communication issues rather than Sheamus accidentally kicks Drew in the face.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
But moving on to Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy. I really fucking enjoyed this match. I thought this was great. Jeff may not have been his best, but this was a great showcase for Bobby. And MVP on the sidelines too was great. Riddle on the sidelines was great. I really enjoyed this match. I thought this was like this could have been a title match. I would have enjoyed it.
I think my problem with it really is that I don't quite see why this match happened. I really do hate matches that happen solely for the purpose of somebody intruding and then setting them up for what's probably going to be Matt Riddle challenging for the United States Championship.
No, what this is setting up is a tag team between Jeff Hardy and Riddle because they've both been put down by the Hurt Business. And I would assume this happened because Hurt Business has not been getting many wins lately, so MVP wanted something that would be a bit more prestigious but kind of an easy win, and that's Bobby Lashley tearing down Jeff Hardy.
Okay. That's fair.
Plus, we saw like a much more complex Bobby Lashley today.
Sure.
But moving on to Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt, I think this match had so much potential, and we didn't get as much. We didn't get any Alexa Bliss at all, which I think was a huge element that was missing. She wasn't even at the Firefly Funhouse.
I think we were supposed to, honestly. Because remember Bray made like a whole comment about how like, oh well, you were mean to my friend, so she's not gonna be here now. It's just gonna be me. Or unless maybe it's like the whole point of it was that like she is the Fiend's weakness, so like he basically hid her away.
Maybe, but then she kind of implied that she's the one manipulating the Fiend.
True. Truth is out there.
Our
You just
truth
don't
is
know
out
it.
there.
And he has the 24/7 championship, and somebody's got to stop him.
And that person's going to be Ramblin' Rabbit.
Singles push for Ramblin' Rabbit!
I do think...
I'm going to train him!
Thinking back, maybe Alexa Bliss was supposed to be the one to pop into Randy's locker room instead of Ramblin' Rabbit.
Possibly. It was a little weird that Ramblin' Rabbit did it.
Yeah.
Also, when Ramblin' Rabbit popped in, he said, "Hey, Randy, down here!" And Randy turns around, and Ramblin' Rabbit's like at eye level with him. And I was like...
Oh, God.
It's a very small inconsistency that kind of bothered me.
But talking about like the actual like wrestling itself, it wasn't great. I mean, we know what these wrestlers are capable of, and they kind of underperformed today.
The Fiend didn't get to show off the Fiend. Christ, I'm fucking cracker. Bray didn't get to show off what Bray normally gets to show off.
Right.
Which is a lot of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Because he switched over to the Fiend persona pretty shortly in.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy just, and maybe this is like supposed to be the point because Randy's like distracted because he's like stressed out. He just looked not there at all today. He looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. And I'm sure that come TLC we are going to get a great match.
It's because Jackson Riker was in the building. But seriously, like...
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
If Jackson Riker does reappear on the main roster, I am foregoing talking about literally anything that he is in.
Okay.
I'm just going to put that out there now. I do not care. I don't care if we have an entire Jackson Riker themed fucking episode. I'm not talking about it. I'll talk about the fucking referees. I'll talk about Spider. Give a shit.
Eddie.
My boy.
But going back to the match, I think the biggest plus in all of the Firefly Funhouse stuff is that every single appearance from them is a huge addition to the story. And this match gave us zero progression in the story at all. None.
I think that's why I think that Alexa Bliss was supposed to be there tonight. I think if she
Absolutely.
was there, maybe that would have given us a little something. Because honestly, my dumb brain, when the lights started going out and Randy RKO'd Bray, I genuinely thought someone else besides the Fiend is coming out. I genuinely thought maybe it's gonna be Alexa Bliss in like some weird fucking makeup. I don't know. But when it was the Fiend, I was like, all right. Guess I should have saw this coming.
Yeah, I mean, so my pick for match of the night, I don't think it's any surprise, is Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy. Every other match was so disappointing today. Yeah. Hmm?
I don't know.
I'm getting mixed vibes over here.
It's because let me take you through my own personal rundown here.
Oh boy, okay.
It'll be much shorter. Asuka and Shayna fucking hated it. We don't talk about Reckoning and Slapstack versus Ricochet and Princess Diana because I thought that was a shitty match. Kofi versus Shelton was just very one-sided. Cedric versus Kofi was I don't know. I didn't like it. AJ, Miz, and Morrison versus Sheamus and Drew. I did like the match a lot. I liked the character stuff that we got. I liked the interactions that we had with Drew and Sheamus when they were friends. However, the ending was fucking stupid and annoying. I would have much rather it be like something very like sometimes we'll get like, oh, like some like the other guy punches the guy in the opposite team, but the person standing right next to him is his partner. So like he looks at him, he's like, "Why the fuck did you punch me?" Would have preferred that.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was just a really stupid ending to a match that I don't know why we're still having.
And then the announcers were like, "Oh, Drew's got a lot to think about now." It's like he shouldn't. He should have just been like, "What the hell, man?"
Which is essentially what he did. I don't think there was much thinking that went into him going and beating up Sheamus.
Right.
I think there's a lot of thought process there. Yeah, the complex individual that Drew McIntyre truly is. Anyways, Bobby and Jeff was really good. I just can't fucking stand Jeff Hardy so much. And Randy versus Bray was good, but it wasn't what it could be. Fine, I'll go with your fucking opinions. I'm just so tired. We keep choosing our fighter of the night from the same fight of the night, and it's driving me insane.
But normally there's a reason it goes hand in hand. It's because the best match is more than likely going to have the best wrestler. Not always. But you can't deny Bobby Lashley was insane today.
I can't deny it. I feel like Jeff looks like a wet noodle in the fucking ring half the time nowadays.
Yeah.
And if I have to see that fucking little quadfecta or whatever we fucking call it that Jeff does every single time, where it's literally him moving around a like 3-foot like perimeter, I'm gonna lose it. I hate it. It's like his mind turns off when he's doing all of it. It's just like, oh, I've got to do this now. I've got to do this now. I've got to do this now. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But I also just loved MVP and Riddle on the sidelines. I think those are great additions to the match. That otherwise would have just been a very bland match.
Sure. It's true.
Alright, so to run it back, our promo of the night, let's get Randy. Wrestler of the night, Bobby Lashley. Match of the night, Bobby Lashley versus Jeff Hardy. Liz, would you like to close us out?
I suppose. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you watched tonight, we appreciate it. If you didn't watch tonight, but you're watching in the future on the YouTubes, maybe, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Happy Hanukkah. Clean your menorah. Light your candles. Hey. Please tune in on Wednesday, our pre-Hanukkah countdown show, aka NXT night. Probably the best night of the week, so get fucking excited.
We have
I'm
Finn
gonna have a
back.
good time. The cat is finally back. Oh, I mean Finn. The hell of a fucking snort. But yeah, NXT night coming up Wednesday. I'm super hyped. I've missed NXT. I know we just watched them, but I've missed them. So please tune in then. Maybe my lungs will be working. Maybe my lungs will be less working. Let's pray it's not that. And then I go to the doctor's on Thursday, and then I'm going to have a good fucking story for y'all on Friday. Or I'll be on prednisone, which will be even more interesting. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in.
And if you enjoyed, hit that follow button down below. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Check out the live show. And if you're watching on Twitch, check out the YouTube to catch all of our past podcasts and the rest of this one. The War Games podcast is not up yet. It probably won't be up until tomorrow night.
Which podcast?
The War Games. Yesterday.
I don't remember. What podcast was it again?
Follow our Twitter at Pinfall Podcast.
No!
Follow my
I was setting you up for a fun
War Games.
Thank you. Jeez.
Follow my personal Twitter at the Mark Cameron. Liz's at Eliza Elaine23. And check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. And that's it. What was that?
/.
Yeah, /. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday for NXT. And December 19th, Mike Romies.
Mike Romies featuring Mike Rome. Probably not, but maybe, if I pray.
Everyone tweet at Mike Rome.
Yeah, make Mike Rome come to the Mike Romies. Make Mike Rome at least open up a cameo so I can get a cameo for the Mike Romies. I'm not asking for much.
Alright, have a great night, everybody.